You know, there's a story we all kind of tell ourselves. It's usually first thing in the morning, right? You're brushing your teeth.
Right, looking in the mirror.
Exactly. You look in the mirror and you think, that person right there, that is a rational human being. We tell ourselves that, we're the captains of our own ships.
Hmm.
We weigh the pros and cons. We make these logical decisions. And this is the important part. We know exactly who we are and what we stand for.
It's the ultimate comforting narrative, isn't it? The idea of the unified self.
A unified self.
That I'm the same person at home as I am at work, the same person when I'm calm as I am when I'm, angry or excited, that I am in control.
Exactly. I'm the captain. But the stack of research we are diving into today, well, it's a bit of a wake-up call, to put it mildly.
A huge wake-up call.
It suggests that the captain might actually be asleep at the wheel a lot more often than we'd like to admit, or maybe even more accurately, that there are two different captains fighting for control.
Oh, that's a very apt way to put it.
And they're trying to steer the ship into two completely different universes.
Because when you really look at the behavioral economics and the psychological data we have in front of us, it becomes so clear. We are not just one consistent person moving through a consistent world.
So what are we then?
We're actually navigating two distinct universes. They have totally different laws of physics.
Two universes. You make it sound like, I don't know, science fiction.
It feels like it sometimes.
Yeah.
Seriously. You have the universe of social norms on one hand,
Okay.
and the universe of market norms on the other. And the rules of gravity, so to speak, are completely different in each one.
And if you mix them?
If you try to apply the rules of one world to the other, everything it explodes.
And that's just the first half of the story. I mean, that's the external world.
Exactly.
Because later on, we are going to talk about an experiment. And I have to say, this is probably the most uncomfortable, saran-wrapped experiment we have ever covered on this show.
It's really something.
And it suggests we are also two different people depending on our internal emotional state.
The two selves concept. It is essentially the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde problem.
But with data.
But verified by hard data from MIT and Berkeley.
So our mission today is to unpack these invisible forces. We want to understand why a developer will work for free but won't work for a low wage. Why your boss saying we're a family is actually a psychological minefield.
And the big one. Why, despite what you think, you probably cannot predict your own behavior when the heat is turned up.
And we're drawing this from some really fascinating work by the behavioral economist Dan Ariely and his collaborators. It's a true deep dive into the hidden machinery of our decision-making.
It really is.
So let's start with this idea of the two worlds, the clash of norms. Break this down for us. What exactly is the difference between a social norm and a market norm? Because on the surface, they just sound like, academic terms for being nice and doing business.
There's so much more fundamental than that. Think about the warm, fuzzy interactions of your daily life. The source material defines social norms as those interactions wrapped in our community nature. It's the stuff that makes us human. It's the glue.
Okay, give me a concrete example, something every day.
You help a friend move a couch.
The classic.
It's the classic example for a reason. You spend 3 hours sweating, lifting heavy furniture. Maybe you scratch your shin on a door frame.
Right, and I'm doing it because he's my friend. I'm not standing there with a credit card terminal waiting for him to swipe after we put the last box down.
Precisely.
Yeah.
In the world of social norms, instant payback is not required. In fact, even mentioning payment, it acts like a poison.
A poison, yeah. It would be so awkward.
It's a world of reciprocity, sure, but it's vague. I owe you one. That's the currency.
I'll get the first round of beers next time.
Exactly. It's about long-term relationships. It's about trust and communal effort.
Okay, so that's the warm and fuzzy world. What about the other one, the market world?
That is the world of market norms. This is cold, sharp, and calculated. Wages, prices, rents, interests.
A lot of fuzziness there.
None. In this world, you get what you pay for. If you go to a store to buy a television, you don't say, I'll owe you one to the cashier. The exchange is explicit, it's immediate, and it's usually financial.
And that makes sense. We need that world. I can't build a house on favors.
No, you can't.
Oh.
We absolutely need both worlds. The trouble starts when they collide.
When you get them mixed up.
Or, more specifically, when we confuse which world we are operating in. And the sources point to a really fascinating paradox to illustrate this. The world of open source software.
Oh, like Linux? Or I guess Wikipedia?
Exactly. Think about Linux developers. These are some of the most highly skilled professionals on the planet. I mean, truly brilliant minds.
Sure.
If you wanted to hire them to fix a bug in a proprietary piece of software, for a bank or a tech giant, how much would that cost?
An arm and a leg. I mean, top-tier developer rates are astronomical. You're talking hundreds of dollars an hour minimum.
Right. And yet, the sources highlight that these same people will go home after a long day of work, log onto a bulletin board, and spend hours,
Yeah.
fixing bugs for free.
They're doing the exact same labor they do at their day job.
The exact same labor, but for $0.
Rationally, that makes no sense. If their time is worth $200 an hour, they're essentially lighting money on fire.
It makes zero sense in the world of market norms.
Yeah?
But it makes perfect sense in the world of social norms.
How so?
They aren't working for money. They're working for reputation, for community, for the feeling of contributing to something bigger than themselves.
It's a different kind of payment.
It is. It's that same dopamine hit you get from helping that friend paint the room. The feeling of being a valuable member of the tribe.
So here's the question then. If I'm a company and I see these guys working for free and I say, wow, this is amazing, I want to motivate them even more, what happens if I offer to pay them?
Okay.
Say I offer them a modest hourly rate. Hey, thanks for fixing that bug. Here's $20. Do they work harder? Do they fix more bugs?
No. They stop working entirely,
Really? Just stop.
almost immediately. Because the moment you introduce money, you shift the frame. You take the interaction out of the social norm. I am a generous expert helping my community.
And you drop it into the market norm.
You drop it right into the market norm. And now the internal narrative becomes, I am a laborer working for $20.
And $20 is an insult for that level of work.
Exactly. In the social world, $0 is a noble sacrifice. In the market world, $20 is a slap in the face.
That is so counterintuitive. We always think money is the ultimate motivator. If you want more of something, you pay for it.
And that is the trap. The source explicitly asks, could you pay for this level of service? Most likely. But if you had to hire people of the same caliber, they would cost you an arm and a leg.
So they're getting this incredible value for free.
And the takeaway here is that social rewards, reputation, pride, camaraderie are incredibly powerful motivators that often get overlooked because they don't have a dollar sign attached.
Okay, let's ground this a little bit more because I feel like OP source is a bit niche for some people. You mentioned a dinner party scenario in the notes, and I've been turning this over in my head. It seems obvious, but also kind of arbitrary.
Arbitrary how? Walk me through that.
Well, let's say I go to my mother-in-law's for Thanksgiving. Let's call her Susan.
Okay, Susan's Thanksgiving, a high-stakes social situation.
Absolutely. Susan spends 3 days cooking. The turkey is perfect. The sides are incredible. The table is set beautifully. It's easily a $300 meal if we were at a high-end restaurant.
Easily.
Yeah.
Probably more with the wine and the labor costs, for sure.
Right. So at the end of the night, I want to show my appreciation. I want to be a good son-in-law.
Right.
So I stand up, I pull out my wallet, and I count out $300 in crisp hundreds.
Oh, man.
I hand it to her and say, Susan, for the labor, the materials, and the overhead, this is for you.
I am cringing just visualizing it. That is physically painful to imagine.
But why? Rationally, it's a great deal for her. She gets compensated. I get fed. Economics 101 says this is a maximized utility transaction. But in reality...
In reality, she never invites you back. You might actually be written out of the will.
Right. The dinner table goes silent. My partner kicks me under the table.
It's a catastrophe.
Exactly. But why? Why is cash so offensive there? But a bottle of wine, which costs money, is mandatory. If I bought a $300 bottle of wine, she'd love it.
Because the bottle of wine isn't payment.
It's a gift.
It's a token. It stays within the social norm. It says, I value our relationship. The cash says, I value your labor. You have instantly demoted your mother-in-law from a family matriarch to a service worker.
So it's a status drop? Is that what it is?
It's a category error. Think of it like a computer operating system. As humans, we have these two distinct operating systems. We can run social OS or we can run market OS.
Okay.
But the moment you introduce a price tag, even a specific mention of cost, the social OS crashes. It's deleted. And you can't just reboot it.
That's the scary part the research points to. It's not a dimmer switch. It's not like you can just dial it back.
It's a cliff.
It's a cliff. Once you introduce market norms, the social norms evaporate. And they're gone for good.
Which brings us to the corporate world. Because this is where I think most of us feel this tension every single day.
For sure.
The sources describe this as a sort of corporate identity crisis.
I want to push back on this crisis idea a bit, though.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because I read the section on the employer's dilemma, and it feels a little unfair to the companies to call it a crisis.
Unfair. How so?
Well, is it really manipulation if a boss says, we're a family?
Yeah.
Maybe they genuinely mean it. Startups, for example. You do feel like a family sometimes. You're in the trenches together, you're working late, you're ordering pizza. Is that really just a psychological trap, or is it just good culture?
It's not necessarily malicious, I'll grant you that,
Okay.
but it is structural, and often it is delusional.
Delusional, that's a strong word.
Look at the terms of the engagement. In a real family, if you get sick, does your dad fire you?
Hopefully not, no.
If you break your leg, does your mom say, well, your maintenance costs are too high and your productivity is down, so we're going to outsource your bedroom to a kid from the neighbors?
Chuckles. Okay, I see where you're going. That would be a pretty dysfunctional family.
That is the friction point. The source material highlights that companies want the benefits of the social contract.
All the good stuff.
They want the loyalty. They want you to work late without asking for overtime. They want you to feel passionate about the mission. They want you to cancel family plans to meet a deadline.
They want the social input from the employee.
Exactly. But they want to retain the rights of the market contract. They want the ability to lay you off to save a nickel on the share price. They want to cut benefits when the quarter is bad.
And they want the market output for the company.
Precisely. They want to give market rewards, but receive social loyalty.
So the company says, we're a family, please work late, but then says, oh, you're sick, that's going to cost you. And by the way, we might outsource your job next quarter if the stock price dips.
You've nailed it. And the source makes a very strong statement here. It says, corporate loyalty has become an oxymoron.
An oxymoron.
Wow.
You cannot treat employees like market commodities, cutting costs whenever convenient, and then expect them to exhibit the social loyalty of a family member. It's a broken equation.
It's like a friend who only calls you when they need to move a couch, but is never around when you need a ride to the airport.
Right.
Eventually, you stop answering the phone.
Or you start demanding payment. If the social contract is broken, the employee shifts to market norms. Okay, you want me to stay late? Pay me overtime. The passion evaporates, and it becomes purely a transaction.
And we see this happening with benefits, too,
Yeah.
right? The text mentions specifically the reduction of social perks over the years.
Yes. Think about the old school corporate model from the mid-20th century. Family picnics, company cafeterias, comprehensive health care, the gold watch after 30 years.
All of it. These are things that signaled, we care about you as a human being.
Yeah.
They were social signals.
And now?
Now we have high-deductible health plans. The message shifts from, we will take care of you, to, here is a financial product, you manage your own risk. It reinforces the market relationship, not the social one.
There is a really interesting experiment in the sources about this exact tension, the difference between giving an employee cash versus a gift.
This is a great example of organizations trying to understand these levers, often without really knowing the theory behind it.
So the question is simple. Is it better to give an employee a $1,000 gift, say, a vacation voucher or a really nice piece of tech?
Yeah.
Or just give them $1,000 in cash?
What does your gut say?
My rational brain says cash. Always cash. I can buy whatever I want with cash. I can pay the rent with cash. I can buy the exact gift I want for myself instead of the one you picked out.
And if you ask employees, the majority agree with you. They say they prefer the cash. They're being rational actors.
But there's a twist.
But here's the twist. The sources argue that the gift creates significantly more long-term loyalty and goodwill.
Why? If I tell you I want cash and you give me a voucher instead, shouldn't I be annoyed?
You might be annoyed in the moment, slightly. But the gift is a social signal. It operates in the social world. It reinforces the relationship that says, I thought about you. It enters into that long-term exchange of reciprocity.
Whereas the cash is...
Cash is a market signal. It says, here is the payment for your services. It's a clean transaction, and then it's over.
So the guy who gets the cash is happy for a moment, he pays a bill, and he forgets about it. But the guy who gets the gift, he feels more connected to the company.
That's the theory. The source asks, who do you suppose is likely to work harder, show more loyalty, and truly love his work more? Someone who is getting $1,000 in cash, or someone who is getting a personal gift?
And the gift wins.
The gift boosts the social relationship. It creates a memory. The family goes on the vacation and talks about how the company sent them. Cash just gets absorbed into the bank account and disappears into the background noise of life.
The text mentions Google here as a prime example of a company that understood this, at least in its early days.
Yes, especially in their earlier days, and many tech companies followed suit. It was all about building a social campus.
The free gourmet lunches, the on-site massages, laundry services.
All of it.
I always thought that was just a clever way to keep people at the office longer so they'd work more hours.
It is that, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also engineered to keep people in the social mindset. If I feed you, if I take care of your laundry, I am playing the role of a parent or a community provider, not just an employer.
It makes the boundary between work and life very blurry.
Incredibly blurry. And when that boundary is blurry, you work harder, you complain less about hours, and you feel a deeper bond to the campus and the family.
It sounds manipulative when you say it like that, but I guess it works.
It is incredibly effective. Until, of course, the company has mass layoffs.
Right.
Then the illusion shatters, and
Yeah.
everyone remembers they're just employees in a market transaction.
This tension isn't just in the office, though. The sources make a pivot here from the corporate world to the streets, specifically to police officers and firefighters.
Mm-hmm.
And this part really stuck with me because it deals with life and death.
This is a profound point. We all know, intuitively, that a salary alone does not motivate someone to run into a burning building.
No amount of money is worth that risk. If you offered me $500 to run into a fire, I'd say no. If you offered me $50,000, I'd still say no.
Exactly. Police and firefighters operate heavily on social norms. Pride, duty, professional honor, the brotherhood, the sisterhood.
A different kind of family.
Different kind of family. They don't die for their weekly paycheck. They risk their lives because of the social contract they have with their community and with each other.
There is this incredible anecdote in the source about a U.S. customs agent. I want to walk through this because it really paints the picture so vividly.
Yes, a friend of the author, Dan Ariely, he went on patrol with a customs agent in Miami.
So set the scene.
Picture the scene. It's night. They're out on the water hunting drug runners. It's dangerous work. These smugglers are heavily armed.
And the agent, is he armed?
Oh, yeah. He has an assault rifle. He has the firepower to stop a fleeing boat. He is technically trained and paid by the U.S. government to interdict these guys.
So the author asks the obvious question. Have you ever actually fired on them?
And the answer is just shocking. The agent says, no way.
No way, just like that.
Just like that. He explicitly admits he isn't going to get himself killed for his government salary.
So he says it outright.
Outright. He says, I'm not paid enough to die.
That is brutally honest.
It is. And he revealed there was an unspoken agreement out there on the water.
An agreement with the drug runners.
A kind of truce. If the drug dealers don't fire, the feds don't fire. They chase them, sure. They try to catch them. But they aren't going to start a gun battle on the water for a civil service paycheck.
So he's doing the job, but only up to a point. The market norm is the salary isn't high enough to buy his life.
Correct. And the implication the source draws from this is fascinating, and it applies to so many fields.
Which is?
If we want to increase safety or performance in these high-risk civic roles, we have two choices. Choice one, we pay them like drug lords. We pay them millions of dollars a year to make the risk worth it in market terms.
Which is impossible. No government can afford that. It's a non-starter.
Right. So we are left with choice two. We must elevate the social status of the profession. We have to make the social norms, the honor, the respect, the glory so high that the mission itself becomes worth the risk, independent of the paycheck.
It's not about the money. It's about the meaning. You have to pay them in social currency.
Exactly. And that leads us directly to the crisis in education. Because if there is one place where we have confused market and social norms, it is in our schools.
Oh, this one hits home. The source takes a pretty hard swing at things like No Child Left Behind and the obsession with standardized testing.
It does. The core argument is that by focusing so heavily on testing, on accountability, and especially on performance-based teacher salaries, we are pushing education from a social domain into a market domain.
We're trying to buy better grades. We think if we just pay teachers for high scores, we'll get smarter kids. It's a very market-based solution.
We are trying to buy love of learning. And the source argues that, just like the Beatles said, you can't buy love.
So what are we buying then?
You can buy test prep. You could buy rote memorization. But you cannot buy genuine curiosity. You can't buy passion.
So if money isn't the fix, what is? Because teachers do need to be paid more. I don't think anyone disputes that.
Absolutely. They need a living wage. That's a baseline requirement for a functioning society. But the motivation to be a great teacher, to inspire, that comes from the social norm.
Okay.
The source suggests we need to reframe the entire educational mission. Instead of focusing on test scores and rankings, we should link the curriculum to massive social goals,
Like what? What would that look like?
like solving poverty, curing cancer, space exploration, energy conservation. The idea is to give students and teachers a mission rather than a job.
To give them a why.
Precisely. To make it a social calling again.
There's a line in the text I loved. It said something like, make students want to know as much about Nobel laureates as they do about baseball players.
That is the challenge. Igniting a social passion for knowledge is much harder than just increasing a budget or buying new iPads, but the payoff is infinite.
It sounds idealistic, though. I mean, it's a beautiful idea, but can you really run a society on social norms? Or is that just a nice idea that falls apart in the real world?
Well, the author actually tested this, or rather, he lived it. He went to the extreme edge of social norms.
Where did he go?
He went to Burning Man.
Of course. The ultimate social experiment.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
else would you go?
The author went with John Perry Barlow, who was the lyricist for the Grateful Dead.
Wow.
Now, for those who don't know, Burning Man is a temporary city in the Black Rock Desert of Nevada. 40,000 plus people. It's dusty, it's hot, and it is very, very weird.
And the rules are pretty specific, as I understand it.
The most important rule for this discussion is the total rejection of market norms.
Huh?
No money is accepted. You cannot buy anything there except maybe coffee and ice at the main center.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Everything else is a gift economy.
So if I'm hungry, I can't buy a burger.
No. But someone might be grilling burgers and just give you one for free with no expectation of anything in return. People offer free massages, they build showers for strangers, they hand out homemade jewelry,
It's all based on giving.
all giving.
And the author participated in this. He didn't just observe.
He did. He actually went to a hobby shop before he went and made these little metal puzzles, and he spent his time there just walking around, giving them away to people.
A puzzle-making economist at a rave in the desert.
It's quite the image, isn't it? But his takeaway was profound. He describes the feeling of handing a puzzle to a stranger, and the stranger smiling and saying thank you, and that being the entire transaction.
No debt, no cost.
Just connection, just a pure social interaction.
It must change the entire vibe of the place.
He found it to be the most caring, social place he had ever been. He says, I'm not sure I could easily survive in Burning Man for all 52 weeks of the year, but it served as proof of concept.
Proof that we aren't just coin-operated machines.
Exactly. That a life with fewer market norms and more social norms stimulates creativity and satisfaction in a way that money simply cannot.
So that's the world outside of us, the constant clash between the market and the social. But now I want to pivot, because the source material takes a very sharp turn here. We're going from how we treat each other to how we treat ourselves.
And this is where it gets a little scary.
Yeah, we're talking about the influence of arousal, the hot versus cold state.
This is a study conducted by the author Dan Ariely, along with George Loewenstein. And they wanted to test a very simple but deeply disturbing hypothesis.
Which was?
Can a rational person accurately predict how they will behave when they are emotionally swept away?
The Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde question, basically.
Precisely. We all think we know ourselves. We think, I am a moral person, I care about safety, I respect others. That's our cold state talking. The rational superego is at the helm.
But what happens when the hot state takes over? When passion or anger, or in this case, sexual arousal, takes the wheel? That's what they wanted to know.
And to find out, they needed to run an experiment. And honestly, the story of just getting this experiment approved is hilarious in its own right.
They tried to do it at MIT first, right? At the business school.
They did. MIT's Sloan School of Management and the Ethics Committee. Well, he freaked out.
What were they worried about?
They were worried about repressed memories or uncovering sex addiction. They just saw it as a huge liability. They shut it down.
Too taboo for the business school. We study money here, not sex.
Exactly. But the Media Lab, which is also at MIT,
The artsy, techie part of campus.
they said, sure, go for it. They were much more open-minded.
All right, we have to talk about the sarin wrap. This is the second half of our deep dive. And honestly, this experiment, if this came out today, I don't know if it would get approved.
It barely got approved then. It's right on the edge.
So set the scene for me. We aren't talking about average people here. The source creates this profile of a typical participant they call Roy. Who is Roy?
So Roy is the archetype of the participants they recruited. These were Berkeley undergrads. Think about that profile for a second. Smart, Upwardly mobile, usually pretty disciplined kids.
The good kid, the kind of person who has their life together.
Right. The source describes him as a biology major, captain of the varsity volleyball team, plays Chopin on the piano, he votes Republican, plans to go to med school, he has a steady girlfriend.
He's the guy you'd introduce to your parents. He's the ideal.
He's the ideal. He's Dr. Jekyll.
Okay, so Roy is in phase 1 of the experiment. He's in a coffee shop. It's a Tuesday afternoon. He's sipping a latte. He's totally calm. He's in his cold state.
Exactly. And the researchers ask him some incredibly dark questions.
Questions like what?
Questions like, would you slip a woman a drug to sleep with her? Or would you have sex with an animal? Or would you lie about loving someone just to get them into bed?
And in the coffee shop, Roy's probably insulted, right? He's disgusted.
He's disgusted. The data shows his predictions are basically, no, absolutely not. I am a moral human being. He is answering from the cold state. He is the captain of the ship, and he is steering a righteous course.
Okay, cut to phase 2. This is where it gets messy.
Yeah, it gets very messy. This is the hot state. They put Roy in a private room. They give him a laptop. And because this is a university study, and they don't want to ruin the equipment.
They wrap the laptop in saran wrap.
Which is just the most unsexy detail imaginable. But yes, the author makes a joke about how computers can't get pregnant.
And they tell Roy to get to work, they need him in a state of high sexual arousal.
So he's browsing pornography, he's stimulating himself, his heart rate is up. He is chemically a different person than he was in the coffee shop an hour earlier.
And while he is in that state,
the screen pops up with the exact same questions he answered before.
This is the moment of truth. Does the good kid stay good?
The change isn't just a drift. It is a landslide. It is a tectonic shift in personality.
Give us the numbers. What did they find?
Okay, so first, the questions about odd preferences. When aroused, the participants' willingness to engage in odd sexual activities, including things involving animals and spanking, increased by 72%.
72%. That's massive. So Roy suddenly becomes open to things he said were disgusting an hour ago.
Right. But the morality questions are even more disturbing.
This is the scary part.
The propensity for immoral activities, date, rape, lying, ignoring a no, increased by 136%.
136%?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Let that sink in. So the same brain, the same person, just a few minutes later is saying, yeah, maybe I would slip someone a drug.
Or at least they are significantly more willing to consider it. The moral compass didn't just break. It vanished. It wasn't even part of the calculation anymore.
And what about safety? Because this is the part that scares me the most. We teach kids about condoms, about safe sex. Roy is a biology major. He knows how viruses work. He knows the risks.
It didn't matter. Despite all the education, despite all the logic, the willingness to not use a condom increased by 25%.
So in the heat of the moment, a quarter of his rational brain dedicated to self-preservation just checked out.
It checked out.
So the good kid, the volleyball captain who plays Chopin, he turns into a completely different person.
He becomes Mr. Hyde. And this is the crucial finding of the entire study. It is not just that people behave badly when they're aroused. We sort of knew that anecdotally.
Right, that's not news.
The shocking part is that they could not predict it.
That's the key.
That's everything. Because in the coffee shop, Roy wasn't lying. He truly believed he wouldn't do those things. He was being completely honest.
He didn't know the other guy inside him.
He had no idea. When we are in a cold state, we suffer from what psychologists call an empathy gap with our future selves. We cannot visceralize what it feels like to be hot. We think our rational mind will always have control.
But the data says otherwise.
But the data says that when the reptilian brain takes over, the prefrontal cortex, the part of us that cares about morality and the future and consequences, just shuts down. It goes offline.
That is terrifying. It means we are all walking around with a stranger inside of us. A stranger who can take control at any moment.
It is. The source puts it very bluntly. It says, we are simply unable to predict the degree to which passion would change us.
So if we pull back and look at the whole picture today, it's a bit of a grim one.
It's a realistic one, I think.
We have these external forces, social norms versus market norms, that dictate how we work and interact, and we're constantly getting them wrong. And we have these internal forces, hot versus cold states, that dictate our morality and decision-making, and we have no idea how powerful they are.
And in both cases, the fundamental mistake we make is assuming that we are consistent.
Right.
We think we can mix money and friendship without consequences. We can't. We think we can predict how we'll act in the heat of the moment based on how we feel when we're calm, and we can't.
It really challenges the idea of the rational individual that our entire legal and economic system is built on.
It completely dismantles it. It suggests that context is everything. You are not a fixed point. You are a fluid reaction to your environment and your internal state.
It reminds me of that line from Robert Louis Stevenson, which the source actually quotes, "Man is not truly one, but truly two."
And we all house that dark self, the monster within. The Mr. Hyde is in all of us.
So what do we do with this? I mean, this is a pretty heavy conclusion, knowing that I can't trust hot me to make good decisions, or that my boss is trying to manipulate my social instincts. What's the takeaway?
Awareness is the first step. It always is. If you know that market norms kill social norms, you can be more careful about how you mix money and friendship.
So you don't offer to pay your mother-in-law for dinner.
You don't pay your mother-in-law.
Yeah.
You bring wine. You understand the rules of the world you're in, and you play by them.
And internally, how do you manage the monster?
If you know that hot you is a maniac, you can set up guardrails while you are cold to prevent hot you from doing damage later.
Like what?
Like wearing a seatbelt before you even start driving. Or deciding not to go to that party if you know you shouldn't drink. You make the decision for your future self.
Because you know your future self can't be trusted.
Exactly. You make the decision when you are rational, because you know you won't be able to make it when you are emotional. You bind your own hands, like Odysseus tying himself to the mast so he wouldn't steer the ship into the rocks when he heard the siren's song.
This has been, frankly, a little unsettling, but incredibly important.
The deep dives usually are. We peel back the layers and find things we didn't expect to find.
Before we sign off, I want to leave our listener with a final thought to chew on.
Okay.
We've talked about Roy, the nice college kid who couldn't predict his own dark side. If even the most good and rational people among us cannot predict their behavior when aroused or pressured, what does that mean for the big things?
What do you mean by the big things?
I mean, we make laws, we design safety protocols for things like drunk driving or sexual consent. We trust our leaders to make life or death decisions in moments of crisis. But are we making those rules for a version of humanity that doesn't actually exist when it matters most? Are we designing a world for Dr. Jekyll, completely ignoring the fact that Mr. Hyde is always just one bad day or one moment of passion away from taking the wheel?
That is the question. I'm not sure we have the answer yet. But recognizing the monster is the first step to taming him.
Something to think about. Thanks for diving in with us.
Always a pleasure.
See you next time.